First part of that, now, okay? As soon as you get people like me in Congress who have a backbone and are willing to say enough and mean it and do it. So it's up to you as the voters to know who those people are and to vote for them. Okay? I don't care how good the guy looks on TV or how nice his haircut is. What kind of character does he have, or what does he believe in? What was the second part of that, Michelle?
What happened to limited government as they originally designed, as it was originally designed?
Well, this goes back a ways. We can go back to the progressives of the early 20th century. Like Jefferson, I believe it was Jefferson said, once the people realize they can vote themselves money, our republic is doomed. And that's where we are. Too many people with their hands out. And folks, it sounds mean and heartless, I know, but the fact is we're not supposed to be taking care of people using other folks' tax dollars. Charity is not charity if you're forced to do it.
Well, the bailouts were very distasteful. The Wall Street was rich, got bailed out, and got richer. But the truth is, if something hadn't been done, we would have tipped over the brink from the Great Recession into the Second Great Depression. Much of that money has already been paid back. We should never have to go through that again, however. We need proper regulations so that if some Wall Street establishment ends up in trouble, they're out of business. And if they don't take the country down with us.
The problem that we're having, the reason why we don't have a limited government as our founders intended, is because we have politicians running around in a World Series of who's going to fund my campaign wallet. That way they can get reelected. And it's time for our government to be run of the people, for the people, not of the privileged few.
Now, Brenda can tell me which person at the table asked this question. It's regarding education. How do you feel about the textbooks being dictated by a certain ideology, i.e. Texas School Board, and information being controlled and even being rewritten? How can the Department of Education make sure that this doesn't happen, or should it?
Evolution is a fact. It happened. It should be taught in school. We shouldn't be dictated to by Texas, who wants to teach creationism and teach Thomas Jefferson out of textbooks because they don't like his view on separation of church and state.
I think there could be room for both. I'm not going to be in the business of trying to take God out of the schools. I think everybody should have the equal right to be able to believe whatever they want. I do think evolution should be taught in schools. I have no problem with that.
You either teach it all or you teach none of it. Schools are for education, learning to read, write, do arithmetic, so you can become a productive citizen. When it comes to learning about evolution or creationism, science class can cover the evolution part. You have church for the creationism part. I think the problem with our education system now is there is too much advocacy, too much politics in our textbooks. I'm in school right now at Mary Baldwin College to get a degree to teach history and political science. And as a history major, I can tell you that there is a lot of politics in our history textbooks. And the sad thing is, history is what happened. It's not what we wish had happened. And we need to get back to teaching the truth of history with all its blemishes and scars, but also with all the good points about it as well, especially when it comes to American history.
I do not know which person at the table was asking the second half. In education, SOLs were established to keep from graduating students who could not read, write, or demonstrate knowledge. What do you suggest to replace SOLs?
Susan, you want to answer this one? Sorry, didn't mean to put you on the spot. You know, again, that gets back to what the local school boards in conjunction with parents feel is best for their kids. The SOLs, as I understand it, and I'm not a teacher yet, but from the ones I've talked to is they have to teach to a test. So they don't get to explore different ideas and theories and concepts with the students. They don't get to challenge them to think for themselves and to devise their own answers. They simply have to teach to a test and stick to that. And of course, we have to get our government funding, so we have to make sure that they understand what that test is. So I know a change needs to be made. At this point, what that change is, I'd have to say we have to get back to letting the localities and the local school boards determine that.
Well, I don't have all the answers either. There are certainly some shortcomings of SOLs, like you say, teaching to the test is going to be very limiting for some students. Education is a large problem and needs a lot of study, and I don't have all the answers.
I absolutely agree with Mr. Bayne that it is absolutely imperative that we stop forcing teachers who are underpaid to teach to a test. They don't have they're not being allowed to have the creativity to be able to teach children properly. The other thing I think we can add on to is the fact that guidance counselors need to be able to be given the resources to be able to see every student, not just the students that are brave enough to see them, which helps in regards to any abuse or neglect that's going on. Also, that are not being identified. Also, it helps with helping children with their career advancement. Another thing is that many schools that are failing have emphasized quite a bit in regards to their athletics, and that's fine. I have no problem. I think athletics are great, but when the scores are substandard and the kids are just not able to go to college, and there's just too much. The kids are not achieving in the schools, but yet they're achieving on the football field. I think some of that revenue from those athletic departments can be put into the academic department, and I think that's something that has not been done and needs to be done.
We have a question here for, can everyone answer? Yes. We have a question here from Mr. George Cranford. How much do you think a member of Congress is worth? Less than $174,000 or more? Please explain your answer.
Less.
You want to explain it? Elaborate on it? No?
Let's put it this way. Our teachers, social workers, firefighters, cops, military, all those folks need to be paid higher than members of Congress.
Well, that's obviously the popular answer. I've heard the point they need to be paid more so they're not tempted to take money from others. The system is corrupt, and when you get into it, you see that it's corrupt. Once again, how much Congress is paid when there's so much other money passing from lobbyists and big business back and forth. That's where the problem is. The amount Congress is being paid, they have to have 2 homes. I'm not saying it's impossible on what they get, but we've seen what's happened with the congressman getting corrupted. One congressman who's been in office for 40 years and went in poor is now living quite well. How did that happen?
They're paid entirely too much for what they do. An exact figure, what they're worth, I don't know. I haven't sat down and tried to figure that out. I do think $174,000 a year and an annual 2% pay raise is a bit much. And and we've seen that hasn't done a whole lot to keep them from taking bribes and being bought by people. I think what we need to do is focus on getting men and women of good conscience, good character, and with a backbone in there who will say to these PACs and these lobbyists, no, I'm not taking your money, I'm not voting for that bill, it's not constitutional. And we can get, I don't think people would mind paying a guy $100,000 a year if he was doing his job right, and he was a good steward of their money and he was fiscally responsible, but we're not seeing that. And so when you get paid $174,000 a year, and you're screwing up everybody else's pocketbook, they have a right to be angry.
Well, we're winding up here. Are there any more questions from the audience? Yeah. Is it written down?
No, I don't. We gave you a loan.
You did? How about if I give it back? I'm going to give you. Well, I'll give her another card, and I'm going to start asking some other questions. How many people here have served in the military, or has had a spouse serve in the military? Do you all remember, my ex-husband was a Marine, and I do mean that. He was a Marine, and at one point or another, I lived in Virginia Beach. He lived at Camp Lejeune. Now, I thought we were combining